There was a time when watching a group of kids perform perfectly choreographed pop songs in a neon nightclub was enough to make you believe that music could solve absolutely any problem life threw at you. Kids Incorporated hit syndication on September 1st, 1984, and turned a boarded-up fictional music hall into one of the most unlikely launching pads in pop history. Part children's show, part music video, part career accelerator for future Grammy winners, it ran for 9 seasons. Stacey Ferguson played Stacy, the youngest member of the original cast, who eventually outlasted every single person around her and went on to sell 30 million records as Fergie. Martika played Gloria, the oldest kid in the room, who left at 17 and quietly wrote the song that would go to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Mario Lopez played the background dancer nobody gave a speaking line to, which turned out fine because he spent the next 4 decades on television anyway. Jennifer Love Hewitt showed up at age 10, credited simply as Love Hewitt, earned 3 Young Artist nominations, and became one of the defining faces of 1990s film and TV. And Rahsaan Patterson played the kid, shy, nervous to audition, which was funny because the real Rahsaan Patterson moved his entire family from the Bronx to Los Angeles for the role. Today we're counting down 15 weird facts you didn't know about Kids Incorporated. The original hangout that wasn't a place, the lyrics that got quietly rewritten every single week, and the cast member who couldn't get a lead vocal and then went #2 on the Billboard Hot 100. Before we dive in, hit like and subscribe for more deep dives into the shows we grew up on. Let's get into the countdown with number 15. Number 15, the show every network passed on. Before there was a place, there was a pitch, and the pitch went nowhere. Creators Thomas W. Lynch and Gary Biller had been producing a music video series for TBS called Night Tracks when they developed the concept for Kids Incorporated in the early 1980s. Lynch had recently become a father, saw a gap in children's programming, and wanted to fill it with something music-driven and built around real young performers. He and Biller partnered under Lynch/Biller Productions and shot an original pilot in August 1983. Then they took it to the networks. The networks said no. Not one major broadcaster picked it up. Nobody wanted a show about a kids' rock band performing at a local club. The production had already assembled 4 young performers, Stacey Ferguson, Marta Marrero, Renee Sands, and Jerry Sharrell, for the unaired pilot. And there it sat, unseen, for over a year. What saved it was MGM/UA Entertainment, who agreed to distribute it for first-run syndication. No network home, no guaranteed time slot. Local stations decided when and if to air it. Some put it near primetime. Others buried it at 6:30 a.m. Some shuffled it mid-season until the ratings made no sense at all. The show debuted on September 1st, 1984. The pilot had been sitting on a shelf for 13 months. Lynch eventually became what the New York Times called the David E. Kelley of tween TV, the most prolific creator of children's programming of his generation. The Secret World of Alex Mack, Romeo for Nickelodeon, and others followed. Kids Incorporated was his first show. The one nobody wanted became the template for everything that came after. Number 14. The hangout was never supposed to be a place. Here's something the show never explained, and most viewers never thought to ask. Why was the kids' hangout called The Place? The answer is in the pilot, which surfaced on home video in 1985 under the title Kids Incorporated: The Beginning. In that original footage, the main hangout wasn't the place at all. It was the Malt Shop, a 1950s-style diner with a sarcastic soda jerk behind the counter named Mike. The whole setup read like a throwback, more Happy Days than MTV. The place existed in the pilot, but it was boarded up. A legendary old music venue where, the story goes, Frank Sinatra and Elvis Presley had once played. The kids sneak inside it during the pilot's plot. By the time the series launched on September 1st, 1984, everything had flipped. The Malt Shop was gone, Mike the Soda Jerk was replaced by a character named Riley, and the kids had moved their whole operation into the formerly boarded-up place. And then the A in the neon sign burned out. Nobody replaced it. Not in Season 1, not in Season 5, not when Disney Channel took over in 1986. For 10 years and 151 episodes, the legendary former music venue that Sinatra and Elvis supposedly once played became the place. asterisk standing in for a dead bulb. A 50s diner got replaced by a legendary music hall. The legendary music hall got its sign busted, and the busted sign became the whole brand. Number 13. Nobody was actually playing anything. Every episode featured the cast performing on stage at the place. Guitars, keyboards, drums, the full band setup, with 5 musical numbers per episode. 5 performances every single week. What you were watching during all of them was not a live performance. The instruments were props. The cast mimed playing them, every one of them, with the single exception of Mario Lopez, who was a genuine drummer and actually played. Every other instrument on that stage was theater. The singing was completely real. Every cast member recorded their own vocal parts in a professional studio before filming started. Children across America were buying records of those vocals. The musicianship was an illusion. The music itself was not. What made the illusion hold for 9 seasons was commitment. Kids aged 8 to 17 performing with the full conviction of professionals every week in front of a camera crew, while the actual sound came from a recording session nobody saw. 2 of those albums went platinum. An entire generation of kids bought records of performances where half the musicians weren't playing a single note. Number 12. Kids Incorporated invented kids. Bop. This is the one nobody ever thinks about, and it reframes every performance you ever watched. Kids Incorporated covered the biggest pop hits of each decade it ran. Michael Jackson, Fleetwood Mac, House of Pain, Naughty by Nature. The show pulled from the top of the charts every week, but a lot of those songs were written by adults, for adults, and had no business being performed by children on a Saturday morning. So, the producers rewrote the lyrics. Whenever a song crossed into territory too mature for the target audience, the writing staff quietly swapped out the offending lines for something age-appropriate. Same melody, same beat, same recognizable hook, just with the edges sanded off so no parent had to explain anything over breakfast. The edits weren't always consistent. Some songs got a thorough rewrite. Others slipped through nearly untouched. Billy Idol's Dancing with Myself went out uncensored in 1990. So did Fleetwood Mac's 7 Wonders and Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal in 1989. But House of Pain's Jump Around and Naughty by Nature's Hip Hop, hooray, got the full treatment. Kids Incorporated was doing exactly what Kids Bop would later turn into a franchise. Take the hit, scrub the content, sell it to parents who want their kids singing along but not asking questions. The difference is that Kids Incorporated was doing it a decade earlier, with genuinely talented performers, and nobody ever gave it a name. Every performance you ever watched on that show was a cleaned-up version of a song that meant something different than you thought it did. The kids knew exactly what they were singing. The producers just made sure you didn't have to. Number 11. The cast member who quit over leprechauns. Jerry Sherrill played Mickey in Season 1. Mickey was the de facto band leader, the one who set the tone, drove the storylines, made the calls. Sherrill was one of the 4 original cast members from the 1983 pilot. The kid who had been there from the very beginning. He was gone after 1 season. The reason is specific. Sherrill left in part because of the show's often bizarre and outlandish storylines. To be concrete about what that means, Season 1 includes an episode featuring a magic robot, another where the kids encounter a runaway princess, and one involving a wisecracking bicycle. And those are just from the first season. The leprechauns, the time travel, and the phantom haunting the place came later. Sherrill was replaced by Ryan Lambert for Season 2. The revolving door structure that would define the show for the next 8 seasons was established. The storylines Sherrill found too bizarre are exactly what people remember. Kids Incorporated's willingness to drop a ghost into the place without warning, to interrupt a school drama with a magic robot, to hand a bicycle a personality and let it drive plot. That texture is what separated the show from straight-after-school programming. Sherrill saw the weirdness coming in Season 1 and walked. The show leaned into it. Then it ran for 9 more seasons. Number 10. The 14-year-old who left and went. Number 2. Here is a name that doesn't come up often enough in Kids Incorporated retrospectives, Shanice Wilson. In September 1984, the same month the show premiered, 11-year-old Shanice joined the cast as a series regular. She had just won the junior vocalist category on Star Search, which told you something about her range before she'd sung a single note on a children's show. She appeared in the first 14 episodes of season 1. Then she was replaced mid-season and left. What she wasn't getting on Kids Incorporated was lead moments. Feature vocals were scarce. The spotlight didn't land on her the way her talent warranted. She left. Then she signed with A&M Records at age 11, released her debut album at 14, scored 2 top 10 R&B hits, moved to Motown in 1990, and released Inner Child in November 1991. The lead single was I Love Your Smile. It went to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, topped the R&B chart, hit the top 10 in 22 countries, and earned her a Grammy nomination for Best Female R&B Vocal Performance. Kids Incorporated gave her a stage in 1984, and not nearly enough to do with it. She took the experience, walked out after 14 episodes, and handed the decade one of its most enduring pop songs. The show ran 9 seasons without her. She did fine without it. Number 9, the background dancer who became a C. Slater. Mario Lopez joined Kids Incorporated in 1984 at age 10, fresh off an ABC sitcom called A.K.A. Pablo that was canceled after 6 episodes. His role, background dancer and drummer. 3 seasons, 1984 through 1986. Rarely a speaking line, mostly in the background. Here's the detail that surfaced decades later. Lopez has confirmed in multiple interviews, including on Watch What Happens Live, that Fergie was his first kiss. Both were on the show at the same time. So, the background of Kids Incorporated contained quietly Mario Lopez's entire early romantic history. In 1989, Lopez was cast as A.C. Slater on Saved by the Bell, 4 seasons on NBC, 2 spin-offs, a 2020 reboot on Peacock, then Extra for 12 years, then Access Hollywood. In October 2024, on his 51st birthday, he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He left Kids Incorporated as a background dancer who'd barely had a line, and whose first kiss, by his own account, happened somewhere in that background. The show didn't notice him. He made the most of the time anyway. Number 8, the record label that went platinum and then bankrupt. While Kids Incorporated was running in syndication, the cast released 4 albums through K-Tel Records. At least 2 went platinum, over 1 million copies each. For a children's television show in the mid-1980s, that kind of commercial music success was essentially unheard of. K-Tel had spent the 1970s defining how America discovered new music through compilation albums. Forbes would later call them the Spotify of the 70s, fast, commercial, built for mass markets. The Kids Incorporated albums fit the model exactly. Then both timelines ran out simultaneously. K-Tel International filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in 1984, right as the albums were gaining traction. The label kept releasing Kids Incorporated records through 1986. The final album, New Attitude, came out that year. But when the show moved to Disney Channel, no further albums were produced. Not because the music wasn't selling, because the company that had been making them no longer existed in any functional sense. The show was saved. The record label was not. The platinum-selling albums, the physical proof that a massive commercial audience existed for this music, stopped at precisely the moment the show found its permanent home. 2 of them went platinum. The company that made them is gone. The show outlived its own record label by 8 years. Number 7, the kid from New York whose family moved for the show. Rahsaan Patterson was born in New York City on January 11, 1974, named after jazz saxophonist Rahsaan Roland Kirk. He grew up in the Bronx in a Pentecostal household, singing in church from age 6, surrounded by Stevie Wonder, Miles Davis, and Earth, Wind and Fire. In 4th grade, his sister made him sing in a school talent show. A friend of his sister happened to be visiting from California. That friend was related to Kim Fields, and Kim Fields' mother was consulting for Kids Incorporated at the time. 1 talent show, 1 friend of a sister, 1 relative of a sitcom actress. Patterson auditioned, got the part, and the family moved from New York to Los Angeles. He stayed on the show for 4 seasons, through 1987, then left at 13 as his voice began to change. He moved back east briefly, returned to Los Angeles in the early 1990s, and started working as a session singer and songwriter. In 1995, he co-wrote Baby for Brandy. The song went to number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart and number 4 pop. He also co-wrote Tevin Campbell's Back to the World, a number 16 R&B hit in 1996. His debut solo album came out in January 1997. He's since released 7 studio albums and continues to record and tour. In a 2024 People interview, he said he didn't think he would have the career he had had for so long without that training. The family that moved from the Bronx to Los Angeles for a show that had been canceled 15 months after their son joined it landed exactly where they needed to be. Quick pause. Who was your favorite Kids Incorporated cast member? Drop it in the comments below. And while you're down there, hit like and subscribe. Back to the countdown. Number 6. Canceled on December 26th. The show was canceled on December 26th, 1985, the day after Christmas. 2 syndicated seasons of erratic scheduling, ratings that never stabilized, and that was it. The show that every major network had rejected was now canceled by the syndicated run that was supposed to be its salvation. Then something happened. Reruns began airing on CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network, now Freeform. The numbers were solid. The audience was there. It just hadn't been able to find the show when it was bouncing between a 6:30 a.m. slot in one market and near primetime in another. In the summer of 1986, the Disney Channel acquired the rights and ordered new episodes. New episodes began airing November 3rd, 1986. Fixed time slot, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. No commercials, no ratings pressure. The show that had been canceled 10 months earlier was now an institution in the making. Then, in October 1989, the production company Kintex Entertainment filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The show went on hiatus. Most of the cast moved on. When production resumed in 1991, only Jennifer Love Hewitt and Kenny Ford were asked back. Everyone else was new, canceled by syndication, saved by cable, nearly killed by a bankruptcy. Came back anyway, 9 seasons, 151 episodes. Disney Channel's longest-running series in the network's history. Number 5, the pilot nobody was allowed to see. The 1983 pilot was filmed in August that year. Then it was never shown on television. When MGM/UA picked up the show for syndication in 1984, they added a cast member who hadn't been in the pilot, Rahsaan Patterson, cast as a character called The Kid. The problem was that the only existing footage of the show's origin didn't include him. The solution? Re-edit the pilot 2 years after it was filmed by cutting in new scenes shot in 1985. Patterson's scenes showed the kid as a shy newcomer, afraid to audition. The 1983 footage and the 1985 footage were stitched into one continuous story. A single film built from 2 different years, with a cast that had visibly aged between the 2 shoots. This was released on VHS in 1985 as Kids Incorporated: The Beginning. Hold on. The show's official origin story was assembled 2 years after the original filming, starring a cast member who wasn't there, cut together from footage shot in a different year, and sold to the public as how it all began. The kid's very first scene, arriving in town, nervous, afraid to audition, was filmed after the show had already run an entire season on air. The beginning of the beginning happened last. Number 4. Martika's number 1 secret. Marta Marrero was born in Whittier, California on May 18, 1969, to Cuban immigrant parents. She was 12 when she appeared in an uncredited role as a dancer in the 1982 film Annie. By 1984, she was on Kids Incorporated as Gloria, the oldest member of the original cast, with a built-in expiration date from the moment she joined. She left after season 3 in 1986. 17 years old, signed to Columbia Records, determined to put the children's show behind her. Her first single, More Than You Know, peaked at number 18. Her second single was the one nobody saw coming. Toy Soldiers was a ballad she co-wrote with producer Michael J. about a close friend's struggle with substance use. She thought it would be an album cut. When it came out in April 1989, it went to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and stayed there for 2 weeks. Number 1 in New Zealand, top 5 in the UK and Australia. Here's what nobody noticed at the time. The children's choir on the chorus, the voices singing, "Won't You Come Out and Play With Me," was her former Kids Incorporated castmates, Fergie, Rahsaan Patterson, Renee Sands, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Devin Pewitt, 5 alumni of the same show she'd left to escape her kids' TV image. singing about what had taken hold of her friend, while she recorded her lead vocal alone, late at night, in a studio full of candles. She later said she was picturing the nursery rhyme "Ring Around the Rosie" while they were writing it, and thought it would end up buried on the album. In 2004, Eminem sampled it for Like Toy Soldiers on Encore. Martika got the songwriting credit. She earned it in a candlelit room at midnight, surrounded by the voices of the kids she used to perform with. Number 3. The youngest who became the oldest. Stacey Ferguson was born March 27, 1975. The Kids Incorporated pilot was filmed in August 1983. She was 8 years old, the youngest member of the original cast. She was also still there 6 seasons later, when everyone else was gone. Martika aged out after season 3. Rahsaan Patterson and Renee Sands after season 4. The entire original lineup cycled out while Ferguson remained, going from the smallest voice in the room to the veteran anchoring every performance. 6 seasons. The longest run of any cast member in the show's history. She left in 1989. She and Renee Sands and a childhood friend named Stephanie Riddell formed a group called Wild Orchid. They signed with RCA Records in 1994. Their debut album peaked at number 153 on the Billboard 200. Their second album sold 200,000 copies worldwide. A completed third album was shelved. RCA dropped them in September 2001. The music career stalling, the money running out. By 2001, as she told Entertainment Weekly, she'd spent all her childhood actor money, with collection agents and credit card debt following. She developed a substance addiction. At her lowest, she weighed 90 pounds. She got sober in 2002. She bumped into Will.I.Am at a Minneapolis show. He was interested in working together. When RCA dropped Wild Orchid that same September, she called him back. The Duchess came out in 2006. 3 #1 singles, 8 Grammy Awards, over 30 million records sold. The youngest member of the original cast outlasted everyone, fell the furthest, and came back the hardest. That's the arc, the whole arc. Number 2. What the schedule was hiding. There's something Fergie said in a 2006 Entertainment Weekly interview that most retrospectives skip past, that being a child actor taught her to suppress feelings. You're 8 years old, you're on a professional set, and the schedule doesn't have space for whatever is actually happening underneath, so you learn to file it away and keep going. That skill carried her through 6 seasons. It didn't carry her through the decade after. When Kids Incorporated ended in 1989, the call times, the recording sessions, the choreography rehearsals, the camera marks, all of it stopped. What remained was everything she'd been filing away since she was 8, and she had nowhere to put it. The 1990s were not the story people remember. Wild Orchid struggled. The music didn't connect. In a 2012 interview with Oprah Winfrey, she described finding herself in a scene in Los Angeles. The kind of slide that happens when you finally stop running and everything catches up with you at once. She got sober in 2002. The Duchess changed everything, but that's not the point of this story. The point is that the most decorated alumni in Kids Incorporated history, 8 Grammys, 30 million records, paid for 6 seasons of professional childhood, with a decade the show will never get credit for. Number 1. The show that trained a generation by accident. Here is what Kids Incorporated produced between 1984 and 1994, understood at full scale. Stacey Ferguson, 8 Grammy Awards, 3 #1 singles as a solo artist, 30 million records sold. Martika, #1 Billboard Hot 100 single in 1989, sampled by Eminem on a multi-platinum album in 2004. Mario Lopez, 4 seasons as AC Slater, plus 2 spin-offs. A 2020 reboot, 12 years hosting Extra, Hollywood Walk of Fame, Star, October 2024. Jennifer Love. Hewitt, Party of 5, I Know What You Did. Last summer, $125 million worldwide. Ghost Whisperer, Criminal Minds, 911. Still headlining. Still the person who appeared on screen as Love Hewitt at age 10. Rahsaan Patterson, 7 studio albums, co-wrote Brandy's #1 R&B hit Baby. Co-wrote Tevin Campbell's Back to the World, 4 decades in the business and still touring. Shanice Wilson, left after 14 episodes in season 1, went on to record I Love Your Smile, #2. Billboard Hot 100, Grammy nomination, top 10 in 22 countries. Now, here's what the show itself was. A children's program every major network rejected, running in syndication at time slots ranging from near prime to 6:30 in the morning, canceled the day after Christmas 1985, saved by cable reruns, resurrected by Disney, run for 9 seasons across 151 episodes, and Disney Channel's longest-running series in the network's history. No network wanted it. The record label went bankrupt. The sign was broken. The instruments weren't plugged in. The lyrics weren't the original words. And somewhere in between all of that, a group of 8, 10, and 12-year-olds were performing inside a repurposed legend and quietly becoming everything. The place was never fixed. What happened inside it turned out to be real enough. And there you have it, 15 facts about Kids Incorporated you didn't know. Which one hit you hardest? Drop it in the comments and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We'll see you in the next one.